the fact of the matter is, when I push the idea a little bit further, it may actually create even more controversy in various reactions that may come from other people.
Yeah.
For example, the story Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Mary Shelley, who wrote it, presented it as a horror nightmare of somebody, that's Frankenstein the scientist, who attempted to gain control over life and create life.
Yes.
And that his ultimate sin there, the great blasphemy, according to her, was playing God. We shouldn't mess with God's creations.
Yes.
I will suggest to you that history unequivocally and repeatedly reveals that humans, by their very nature, from the beginning of the hominid ancestry, have been messing with nature. That is, we have been playing God in Mary Shelley's sense. And that, in fact, that's what purposeful evolution is. It is our very nature to manipulate and alter both ourselves and the world around us. That's because we think and we set goals and we have values. And so what I'm going to suggest is that the good future is to maximize that capacity. And so what Shelley saw as the ultimate sin, I would see as the ultimate virtue.
Well, and somebody opposing you would say, well, you're trying to promote a Frankensteinian horror movie as the ideal future.
Yes, and I would respond to that in that story, the central character, Frankenstein the scientist, was a character of clear weakness and personal flaws in his makeup, which is what indeed led to the disaster of the movie. That he was not an ethically admirable person. It had nothing to do with his experiment. It had to do with his motivation, how he reacted to the whole thing. If I gave birth to a child and looked at it and went, ah! and then ran away and left that poor little kid sitting there, of course that would cause some problems, which is what he did in the story.
Well, I gather it wasn't just Frankenstein himself, it was the villagers and all people responded to the creation of Frankenstein with a sense of horror and disgust.
I don't know if that's entirely true in the whole story. And Frankenstein, we have two creatures. We have the creature written about in the novel, and then we have the way the creature evolved in the movies with Boris Karloff playing him. Now, the creature in the novel actually became articulate, was a thoughtful being, and was actually a rather admirable character in the novel. He increasingly came to be seen as a monster as Hollywood turned him into a monster and had Boris Karloff play him as this hideous and ugly being.
I saw recently a Broadway version with Benedict Cumberbatch playing the monster, and it was brilliant. The dialogue between Frankenstein and his monstrous creation was also quite brilliant.
Now, a fundamental thing at work here is that we have this apprehension and fear and this uncertainty over both our abilities to create something alive that is going to be of benefit and going to be positive. And we have this apprehension also that it may turn out that way, and that our position of sovereignty as the dominant species on the earth will be usurped. So part of the fear in Frankenstein is a projection of our fear of no longer being the superior species on the earth.
Well, I'm pretty sure that whatever vision you come up with of the future, there's going to be a segment of the population, sizable, that's going to project this fear onto that vision, whether it's a scientific future or a religious future,
exactly,
an ecological future,
yes,
or an autocratic future. People will be afraid, and the typical thinking, I believe, is that amongst future-oriented people is that a segment of the population will have to be dragged along, kicking and screaming all the way.
Yeah.